Hafaday Guam, welcome back to the Guam Guy Show, episode 3. Our topic this episode is the extreme cleanups we've been doing and the extreme cleanups still to come. Joining me today is Will Naden. He's a coastie, meaning he's in the Coast Guard. You're about to graduate from UOG, right?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm an undergrad at University of Guam, trying to get my degree in integrative biology. Outside, as Farron said, I'm in the Coast Guard as a reservist here on island, and I'm also a small boat captain at most of your local marinas.
If I'm not mistaken, you were born on a boat already holding the helm, yeah?
Yeah, I was steering the wheel before I could talk.
I actually believe that. Returning to the show, Mike Kittergo, a very good friend, free runner, cyberlord over at Bellowings Aviation, our topic from last episode. If you haven't seen, definitely check it out. Hi, Mike.
Hey, good to be back. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thanks. And also joining us, new to the show, Joni Kerr, assistant professor at Guam Community College. What do you do with Eco Warriors?
Oh, well, I'm a founder of the Eco Warriors group. Yeah, student organization. Although we haven't been active as a student organization since COVID started, but we still have our Eco Warrior community members. And so we still keep in contact, and occasionally we were able to do like social media activities or like a video to raise awareness about like the firing range.
Are you guys the ones that did cleanups, or at least one cleanup in Marble Cave before it got all flooded?
We actually have been active with Guam Coastal Cleanup. Guam International Coastal Cleanup for years. I can't tell you exactly when we started, but we became formalized in 2011. And since then, we've always had a site to clean up for every coastal cleanup. But and we were at Marble Cave for at least 2 cleanups, and we actually didn't need to tackle right near the cave because that's not too bad. But it was really the road going down to Marble Cave where we concentrated our efforts because it's a really notorious dumping ground.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah. It just occurred to me, part of how I got started with, I guess, media would have been my going for a swim in Marble Cave after the flood. Like Chris Malafunction Barnett's actually the one that told me about that. He sent me a picture, and I don't know. He didn't say anything out loud or a voice message, but I read his text in my head, like, "Hey, Jello, did you see this pictures of Marble Cave? That's crazy." And then, of course, I went down to check it out, and then I just put 2 and 2 together. I remembered, you'd done some cleanups there, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. Also, treasurer for a new nonprofit called Tano, Tasis, and Toru. Is that correct? Then so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, but get excited, you guys. It's a pretty cool nonprofit. I'll be collaborating with on some interesting things to come up. So cool. So where do we really get started with this? I guess a good place to start would be Oka Point. That was one of the first cleanups we did, I guess, as an informal group, or very much an informal group. We're just a group of friends that just kind of do our thing. I had the idea like at 10 or 11 o'clock one night, and I just called Mike over here, and I just said, "Hey, dude, let's clean up Oka Point Cliff with repellent gear." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm down." What do you remember receiving that call?
Yeah, I just thought, hey, it's a crazy idea. Not crazy for us, but it's doable. So yeah, why not? I've always been there and saw the trash and disappointed. So I'm like, yeah, we should clean it. It's a great idea. All right, pretty epic.
Beautiful. Yo.
I like that you said 11 o'clock at night. I feel like some of the grand ideas for going out and doing something extreme happen at 11 o'clock when you're just kind of like sitting there in your living room bored. It's like, I want to do something really interesting. Let me hang off a cliff and pick up trash.
I would not at all be surprised if there's science on this. Like, as we get closer to our, later on in our circadian rhythm, as we get closer to sleeping and our conscious state is dwindling down and maybe our dream state is sort of awakening, so to speak. I bet that's a lot of my most creative ideas come when I'm like sleep deprived or close to sleeping.
Absolutely. Some of like the world's most complicated problems have been solved in dreams. Like people have discovered cyclo structures for organic chemistry through their dreams.
Yeah, that was benzene.
Yeah, I think it was benzene. Yeah. It was snakes eating each other.
Huh. Yeah. All right, so yeah, I'll just play our very first video from Oka Point cleanup.
So we're just gonna rappel down a little bit and see what kind of trash we can pick up today. See how it goes. Two things really stand out to me at Oka Point. The first is obviously the amazing view, and the second is how there's always so much trash. You can't even see the ground. How much trash is here, especially cans. So I'm just trying to fill up these buckets, keep it going. It's brutal. Whew. A small group of friends and I recently started rock climbing and thought we could use our skills for good. We chose to rappel down for safety reasons, and it's a good thing we did because it was treacherous with bottles, cans, and rocks easily rolling underfoot. It's so dense, Nick accidentally triggered a mini avalanche of trash. We filled up 8 bags of trash and barely made a dent.
So Mike, you were there. When's the last time you watched this video, or how do you feel watching this again?
Oh man, it brings back memories. Well, partly I'm criticizing myself on the exposure of the camera, just a little nitty-pitty details, but yeah, besides that, that was a sad but fun experience. You know, sad to see all the trash, but fun to, you know, rappel down and do something cool. And just like, how many times do you hang off a cliff and do good for the world?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, like, how many people like rock climb, period, and then much less how many rock climb and pick up trash.
I haven't heard of any.
Yeah, so it's very much a bittersweet thing, isn't it? Like, you know, we're doing this stuff because we care, and honestly, it's really fun. But also it's unfortunate we have to do it at all. It'd be better if we didn't have to do anything. So hopefully one day we get this clean and then we don't have to do it anymore, or don't have to do it so often. Mm-hmm. I do have to acknowledge though the people who do these cleanups with us and couldn't join us because there's only so many people you can have on the show, right? And I'll just call them out right now. Alex Chan, who is a high school teacher at Taijeron. Kate Hayes, who's also in the Coast Guard, one of our safety people, because she's an experienced climber. She had ropes when we first started out and gear and got us all started. Nick Oceanique, oh man, I'm sorry, Nick, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Works for immigration, actually, if I recall correctly. USCIS is the full acronym. Also, a more experienced climber. Awesome dude. This guy has got, like, people think I'm high energy. This guy is just never stopping. It's amazing. Brian Santos. Kara Lynn. Hi, Kara. Coral fellow working with mangroves and seagrasses. Jess Farron, or Ari. I'm not sure which one of those is her real last name. Hey, Jess. Grad student over at UOG Marine Lab. Julio Didasco. I can't remember his real last name, but that's his middle name. Kenji. What's her real name? Kendra Bird? Yeah, Kendra Bird over at Taijeron, also high school teacher. Of course, already got Mike here. Paul Witt, an inspector, also extremely experienced climber and safety guy. So if you look at the way he sets up some of our stuff, it's it's overkill with safety, which is definitely the way to go with climbing. So big thanks to all you guys. I wish we could all be here together, but you're with us on video and in our hearts. So, yeah, Joni, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to point out that with your skills, your group skills, I know it is unfortunate that there has to be trash there at all in that really beautiful place, but I just don't see anybody else who would have done that. You know, gone and collected the trash like that, because I don't think there's any group that would have been able to do it the way you guys did it.
You know,
you can't go in from the sea, obviously.
Yeah. I actually think it might have been done before. I was talking with Dan over at Southern Mountain Gear, and I said they tried to do a cleanup over at the regular Oka Point where people go fishing off of.
The staircase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so maybe they were
we
maybe
did
that.
Do that.
Oh, okay. You were there? Wow.
Yeah, we were there.
Epic.
Several years ago.
Was anybody climbing?
Not climbing, but we set up, what do you call it? A pulley system.
Okay.
We borrowed this.
I bet Roki was on top.
Yes,
Okay.
the pulley system from Department of Ag, and that we were able to bring up like my goodness, I think I remember a bed frame, heavy bags of trash,
Mhm.
and so that really helped. People were down there filling the bags and attaching furniture and stuff to the rope,
Mhm.
and then people up on top would pull it up.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on the note of people with skills, we'll talk about a little bit more about that toward the end of the show. So I'm happy we'll say that. But yeah, sticking with you here, our last escapade together, we did you had called me and because you had said you found a ghost net over outside Hilan or outside of Lost Pond. You wanna recap what that call was about or what that call was like?
Sure, I think if I can remember. But okay, so it started last year. I think it was May. My family and I went out to Sharks Pond, and I went snorkeling, and I found the net, and I thought, okay, we're going to have to come back and get this, but not today. We can't do it today. We're not equipped. And so I called you later, but I think it was months later, just because it just got really busy. But then you suggested, yeah, let's go get it. And I was so pleased that we could arrange to do this. But you also introduced the idea of extracting it, not just carrying it back on the beach, on the coastline, but extracting it, loading it onto kayaks, and then bringing it back. And that I thought was interesting, and it actually turned out to be a lot of fun. So I really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad you suggested that.
It was slightly less fun for me because I forgot to bring gloves, and you
Oh.
brought gloves for everyone,
Right.
Except me.
You could have asked.
I didn't realize.
I had
No.
extras in the kayak.
Yeah, I didn't
No.
think about it. I don't know why I didn't think to ask if anybody had brought extra gloves or anything like that. But yeah, I wanted to bring the kayaks because I did not know how much junk would be stuck in the nets and how much weight that would be. I didn't know how long it was. So like how we're gonna manage, like,
Right.
are we gonna carry that back on our backs? So I thought the kayaks would have been just a good safety measure to have, or even just a practical approach to bring it back. If you recall, I got video of that, and I'll just pull that up right in a second. Arriving at Shark's Hole or Hilan. Our mission today is to remove a ghost net. We got to Shark's Hole and quickly found the net was broken into multiple segments, and this one was definitely the longest section. The water was clear enough and the net was so gunked up you could easily see the segment from above. Now here's the problem. We have all this beautiful coral like this one with a puffer hanging out inside of it, and right next to it we have this net stuck on live coral. Sadly, most of the ones we found stuck in the net were dead. Some of it was still white, which shows the death was recent, and some coral was actually still alive and just barely hanging on. In any case, we took our time with the tedious work of removing all the live and dead coral. It was slow going, but we did the best we could. The net had obviously been out for a while and had plenty of time to get fouled up. Sad to say, this is at least the third net I've helped pull off the reef just this year. Yeah. Will, growing up in the water, how does that make you feel?
It's really awesome seeing these projects go down, and like it's not just snorkeling, right? It's not just freediving. It's like freediving with a true purpose, and there's something that's really like fulfilling about that, especially when it comes to something that you care about, like the ocean, something you really love. To be able to go out there and like give back to her, like help her out when there's people out there who aren't doing that at all and are actually leading to these detrimental issues. Teching that's a sore issue for me because yes, it's a very common practice and it's very easy to harvest from a tekin, but if you're not responsible for it, you end up with situations like that where maybe the guy had like a couple ends of the tekin fouled and he just said, oh, never mind, I'm just going to leave it there, without any consideration of what the causes of destruction would be afterwards, and like for somebody else to find that, I only wish that the guy who owned that tekin could see the problem that he created, and maybe it could just be an education thing, but hopefully that kind of like would open up his eyes and like highlight like, hey, just because you left it there doesn't mean it just disappears from your eyes, it's going to be there for all of us to see. But yeah.
And yeah, usually we think about fouled nets and like dead sharks or whatever, or dead fish, but like, you know, if you like reef fish, then you better like the reef and you better like the coral, because that's why they're there, right? And so look, if you can just see how much coral is like just tangled in that. Some of it was still had a little bit of like living tissue, so it wasn't completely dead, but like that's just a lot of very, very unnecessary death.
Yeah. That net was still like attaching itself to pieces of the reef, but there was a time where when it was more intact, it was far, far more detrimental, especially when all these fish end up getting caught in it and then larger predators come into feeds. You're looking at a very degraded net. I'm sure that there was more death and just absolute destruction associated with that net. Not just when you guys found it, but when it was still fresh and the holes of that net were still able to catch fish. I'm sure there were plenty of fish that had died and were caught trying to eat off other fish that were inside that net.
And not only that, but you know, this is just one net. And I used to think it was, you know, you hear about it being a major problem around the world, and I never thought it was a big deal here. But then now that I think about it, I'm pulling a net off of the reef every few months, and they last basically for forever.
Right.
Right. Is that true, Jenny?
If they're plastic, yeah.
Okay.
And then when they do eventually degrade and get into pieces, and then you get your microplastics and all of that, and that's the problem. So this net, I thought it had lead weights. It didn't. They were actually plastic, hard plastic, and that also is a problem because of, you know, eventually degrading into microplastics, which are making their way into our to our food source, the fish and so on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think the cultural aspect of Tekken is, yes, it's gigaos and stuff like
Right.
that. That was very cultural back in the day. But if we really want to revert to, you know, like tapping into that actual cultural side of it, instead of using plastic, we really should consider fiber nets, you know, and perhaps not full-on Tekkens. Gigao, if you get a chance to look up Gigao, it's essentially this containment.
Fishing wear?
Sorry?
The fishing wear.
Where? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was used to contain fish. You wouldn't actually like catch and kill them. You'd just keep them all in this one area. And, you know, the ones that you didn't want wouldn't get stuck and die. They could just throw them off. Those Tekkens, it's anything gets caught in there. If you're not on top of it,
Right.
and that fish doesn't have an ability to escape, it's gone. So you're pretty much harvesting stuff that you don't even care to eat.
Well, I think there's a law too that limits the amount of time that you can leave a gill net out. Is it, I think it's like 2 hours.
Something
4
like
hours,
yeah,
something like
that.
Mm.
And you got to be on top of it.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger in high school, we'd tuck in behind my friend's property, and if we were off that net for like an hour or two, we'd have like dead baby sharks in there and just things that like we weren't gonna eat that, you know, like that's. And it was actually my first time ever tekkening, and when I saw that, I was like, I don't want to do this, man. You know, like this is evil. But if you do it right, you can be very productive. Otherwise, it can be far, far more detrimental and do way more damage than you expect, as evidenced in your video.
Yeah, and Will, you know, you yourself are no stranger to extreme cleanups and marine debris. I definitely would consider you a spiritual predecessor of the Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew, as I call it, with your Merizo Pier project, you and Leilani. And I'm going to go ahead and tell this a little bit of the story for you because I'm just so proud of you and Lonnie. I just got a random call out of the day. Me and Will are still the types of people that just like to call people, like no like warning text or anything. We'll just call each other. And you call me one day and you're like, hey, Farron, I want to organize a reef cleanup in my village. And that was maybe my favorite sentence I've ever heard spoken to me, except maybe my wife saying yes when I asked her to marry me. But anyway, that's such I'm like, that is a beautiful thing. That is every conservationist, every environmentalist dream, is just to hear a member of a community, especially a young person. You guys were 19 years old at the time. I checked. You guys were 19 years old at the time, and you said, hey, I want to organize a reef cleanup in my village. And if only we had just a handful more people like that, can you imagine how much better Guam would be and how much better the world would be of a place and in terms of litter? So what was the inspiration for that? I think it's fairly obvious, but what was going on through your heart? What were you feeling when this idea was flowing?
I'll just give you a little bit of background. I grew up down there. My dad left me down there to be, explorative, I guess. But yeah, he'd like use the pier as a place to have other parents babysit us. But we'd be down there, and I just remember growing up and seeing the reef really lively and all the fish, and that was.
It was just right by the pier?
Yeah, right by the pier. That
Okay.
was our haven as kids. And when I graduated high school, I got into conservation work, and just kind of noticed that, one, I started to learn that coral are actually living things. That was where everything kind of really clicked. When I started seeing all this trash, not just at Merizo Pier, but all over the island, I started to realize that, man, those are actual living things dying out there. And it wasn't very hard for me to go from that to scuba diving off my pier and seeing all the miles and miles of fishing line that had accumulated all those years. So what the fishermen do off the pier is they cast, their hook or their weight gets stuck to the coral, and there's really no other way to get your line back unless you want to throw on a mask and dive down to 100 feet and get it. So they just cut the line and let it sink down to the bottom. And after 10, 20, 30 years of that stuff, you'll start getting these drapes of fishing line over the coral, and those drapes, since the plastic isn't natural, it accumulates algae, and then it accumulates sediment, and that sediment eventually starts blocking out the sun and starts falling onto the living coral, and you'll start seeing this beautiful marine ecosystem just deteriorate before your eyes.
Yeah, you had the last one, 2021. I actually got a video of that one. I'll go ahead and play that for everybody right now. On June 30, 2021, the Merizo Pier project hosted their 4th underwater cleanup. What began as the brainchild of, at the time, 2 19-year-old teenagers, Will Naden and Lonnie Sablon, in its first year, has become an annual event attracting dozens of divers. And it's a good thing too, because our reefs need all the help they can get. From a car to fishing lines, soda cans and tires, there's no limit to what kind of marine debris you can find in the ocean. We asked divers for help, and help certainly came.
Hey, Stan, what are you doing there? Holding a boat. What? Holding a big ass boat. What do you say, Ross?
Believe it or not, this isn't even the first boat we pulled out of the water here. I know I'm grateful to Will and Lonnie for putting this on, all the volunteers who showed up, the staff who ran the event, and especially AmeriCorps for sorting and weighing all the trash, and the Merizo Mayor's office for always supporting. I was just reading the text on there. We pulled out 2,000 pounds of trash in a day out of the water. 2,000 pounds of trash, not including 15 tires and a boat, literally a boat. That's the second boat I've pulled out. I don't know if anybody else pulled out boats, but that's the second boat I pulled out of the water there. And I just got to tell you, Will and Lonnie, I am so proud of you guys for everything you do, for being a friend. This is a beautiful thing, and while it didn't directly come to mind, I'm sure it's been like a deep-seated inspiration for me to do the things I do, and the things I've been fortunate to have been, blessed with, like this podcast, for example.
Absolutely.
So thank you both. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, that whole project's it's a inspiration, I hope, to everybody in the village. I hope they see what we do, and that's the reason why we kind of try to throw it as big as we can and try to get as many people as we can to go there, because on a weekend, Merizo Pier is going off. There's always kids and families down there enjoying themselves. And the Merizo Pier project isn't just a project, it really is a barbecue. So you can come down and grab some food.
That's so Insigu. That's so like this. Sorry, was this the third year? The third one, or
yeah, we
third or fourth?
That was our third one. We had we had COVID hit around the same time that we got all things in line for 2020. So it wasn't until 2021 to kind of able to throw it together.
And I think you're about to talk about the next one.
Yeah, if you want to grab yourself a couple of ribs and some barbecue chicken and kind of have a fun evening in the sun down at Merizo Pier, if you'd like, you can show up at 8 o'clock, July 3rd. Bring your snorkeling gear. And July 3rd of this year, we're going to host the 4th annual Merizo Pier project. And,
Nice.
get down there and clean up what others can't.
Yeah, you heard it. Yeah, I heard it here first. July 3rd, the next annual Merizo Pier project cleanup. Come on out, especially if you're a certified diver. Tank up, get underwater, and bring up that trash. You become a diver because you think it's something fun and cool to do, and you can have fun and do something cool and make it even cooler by helping out the ocean we love to dive in, right?
We're all really just instruments, man, and if you can get down there and use it for good, we really appreciate it. Just to reiterate, you don't have to be a certified diver. I had some of my village friends come over and like
just
we
snorkel.
had boys, spear fishermen and stuff that they go out and they hunt every weekend, and I was just like, hey man, can you just put the gun down one time and come help me out? just fill up these mesh bags full of fishing line and cans.
Now, all right, so kind of all of this stuff has led up to what I just decided to brand ourselves and just call ourselves the Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew because it sounds fun. Like, just regular garbage pickups, they don't sound quite as fun. They're no less valuable. Arguably, they're more valuable since they go to places people frequent, right? And so they're also far safer. So we thought we have an unusual skill set with ourselves as a group and as individuals. And I thought it would be absolutely a fun and good idea to just do what we can, what other people can't or aren't doing or not doing much of. So I'm sorry if there's some people who are doing, I guess, extreme cleanups. I'm just not aware. My apologies. Maybe you're all about the mission and you're not as gung-ho on social media as I am. So props to you if that's the case. Yeah, Miguel. So obviously you're basically my first call for everything. I call him Miguel, but obviously he's Mike. Yeah. We had too many mics around at one point. Yeah, you're obviously my first call for everything. So
yeah, I'm usually free. That's why. Yeah. Or I'll make time.
No, that's not. It's not because you're free. It's because I trust you. And what we do is a lot of them is have inherent risks. I wouldn't say we do anything that's outright dangerous. We do things that have a calculated measure of risk, which is based on what the activity is, what your level of experience and competency is, what kind of equipment you have, if you have the right equipment or not, and things like that. And so Mike here has a lot of experience with obstacle course races. Really have amazing mind-body connection to do like tricking and backflips and all those kinds of cool stuff. And one of my students for freediving. So. I guess you are a bit more available than the average person with your work flexibility. But like when we're out there, we have to trust each other with our lives, and because that literally what comes down to that. Like if we're diving, the absolute number one rule is you never dive alone. You got to have that buddy system. When we're rock climbing and we're belaying each other, if I fall, you got to catch me with the rope and the equipment, right? Mm-hmm. And so. Yeah, man. If you have any thoughts you've been holding back, just go ahead and open up.
In relation to our cleanups.
Anything with our cleanups, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I just want to iterate. It's a fun project to do, and I like to make anything I do fun because it's like going to the gym. Some people like it, but others it's tedious. And if you can make anything fun, you don't have to force people to do it. So that's what I try to do with anything I'm involved in.
You have another aspect to your skill set that's pretty invaluable. It's your drone piloting and videography. So that adds so much value to the videos I wind up making and posting. So people can get like aerial shot or that zoomed out shot where you can really see that perspective and the difference we're making. Mm-hmm. Like Oka Point, before you couldn't see the ground a lot of the time in a lot of the places because it was just buried. And so you have some just incredible shots of us doing the cleanups, and you can see this before and after kind of thing happening with our cleanups. Mm-hmm. Cool. So
have you try to find say dump sites and stuff that we typically can't find from the ground level with your drones? Like I know you've used your drones to find somebody lighting fires, right? Like you caught someone lighting a fire with your drone.
Yeah,
wildfire.
I had video evidence. Yeah.
So something like that. Have you ever tried to like check out certain places that we don't really access, but your drone has access to?
I've tried a bit, but it's funny you ask, because I've actually never scouted for illegal dump sites.
That's a great.
But that would be very invaluable tool to use, and yeah,
For sure.
I've never thought of it. Yeah.
There's just it just seems there's like limitless applications for drones. It's,
sure.
It's after our last episode, it really just kind of opened my
Yeah.
mind.
Speaking of applications, I have like this small idea of picking up trash with a drone, either with a big drone to carry, your mesh bags full from however far away.
Oh, that'd be so
back
nice.
and forth. Yes, that's very possible. We can definitely do that. And then even individual pilots picking up trash locally, within a park or far away, that you can just go there with a hook, grab it, bring it back, with staying in one spot. So you can have multiple pilots doing that.
That'd be a cool like drone competition. Bring out the drone community.
Yeah. I was thinking that during this whole podcast. I'm like, yeah, that'll be fun.
That would be fun. That'd be really fun to see. Just
For sure.
just flying around and just this trash getting picked up. That'd be really cool.
Exactly.
Going back to your guy that was starting the fire.
Yeah.
Where was that? How did you find him doing?
That was in Dandan, so near the dump.
Yeah.
Near the NASA and I don't know, station.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, I was doing a project there for work, and then I see this plume of smoke, like just this giant plume of smoke in the air, and I was like, then I went to go check it out, and I realized it's a forest or grass fire.
Right.
And then I was looking around, and then I see something moving in the grass, and I see it's a guy, and I zoom in, and I could see the trail of fire behind him, and I see him going down with his lighter, just lighting it up, like just very nonchalant. He didn't give a care, about getting caught, because he's in the jungle, but he didn't see me, but I saw him, and I gave over the evidence to the appropriate authorities, and unfortunately the fire department came. I didn't call them, but they came, and all they did was give him a warning. So he got off, and I think there's supposed to be a fine or some legal action against him, but maybe he has some.
I think that's a felony,
It's a felony.
isn't it?
If it's straight up arson, then I imagine it would be.
Yeah.
It does speak to I guess a cultural problem. It's just been so commonplace. We kind of learned to not associate it with its destructive nature and felonious being a felony. I'm not going to try to sound smart there. With its nature as a felony. So so drones. I think it'd be really cool if there was like some kind of drone community partnership, let's say with the conservation officers, going out looking for maybe fires when there's like a fire danger warning, or just looking for illegal dumping. That'd be a really interesting thing to see. Back onto the dumping. I guess we have a few issues. They're all under the umbrella term kind of pollution, right? But I think there's a few different things within there. And this is just me talking out loud, right? Thinking out loud. You have littering, which is mostly the focus of our extreme cleanups, right? And then you have illegal dumping, which is something I don't think we've touched yet. We haven't gone to, one of these back roads where someone like pulls their truck in and just empties it out. And then we have marine debris, so junk that kind of like drifts in from, let's say, from Asia or just from abroad. The tech in could be either of those, I guess, but we have plastic waste that comes in too. And I really just gotta take a minute to show this video I made with two 8th grade students from Untalon Middle School. And they had this really cool project about microplastics, and I just want to play that right now because it warms my heart, and it just gives me a bit more hope. We have these young girls thinking about these kinds of problems when I was their age. I can't even remember being their age. I can't remember a single thought in my head, and they're doing something really cool like this. And as I understand it, they didn't place like top 3 for this, but the next week I think they placed number 1 in some other kind of academic challenge or competition. So big shout out to them. Today, Guam. I'm here with a couple students from Untalon Middle School.
I'm Cadence Guzman. And I'm Jalen Han.
They're in the 8th grade and they had a cool science fair project about microplastics. You want to tell us about it?
We wanted to show the plastic problem because it's bigger than most people think. It's easy to see plastic bottles and other bigger items, but it's harder to see microplastics. Some people even call it plastic sand because it's so small.
In fact, we measured it. In every 2 tablespoons of sand, we found 10 to 30 pieces of plastic.
They also came up with a clever way to separate the plastic from the sand.
It was easy once we figured it out. We put the sand in beakers and filled the water up to the 300 milliliter line, which made the plastic float to the top because it has less density.
Then we used tweezers and pipettes to remove the plastic.
I didn't have much hope the first time I saw the plastic sand at Pago Bay, but with projects and attitudes like these, I'm feeling a lot better about our future.
Joni, you're just lighting up right now. Have you seen this yet?
No.
No?
The
Isn't
first
that
time I've
amazing
seen it.
though? Like
I
how
love
they
it.
figured out a way to measure sand. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
measure plastic sand in the regular
To separate
sand.
out, yeah.
Yeah, and then they
density,
also
yeah.
figured a way to separate it. So I'm all
Yeah.
inspired by this. I'm like, oh man, like what kind of mesh device or contraption can I make to get out there and
Well,
maybe see food?
exactly, yeah.
But you've done this before, haven't you?
I've done
Right there in Pago Bay?
Well, the mesh, we use mesh.
Mel Bloss was telling me, I think.
Yeah, different mesh types to pull out different sizes of microplastics.
Mhm.
And then there is an actual definition for what constitutes microplastics with a certain size.
Mm.
And so below a certain size, it's micro, and then you get a bit larger, and then it's macro. But yeah, but I like that they separated out. I mean, it's very easy to do that with
Yeah,
water.
it's so clever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple and clever. That's my
Yep.
favorite two things. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess there isn't too much we can do about preventing like marine debris and plastics from drifting in, but that doesn't make it not our responsibility. It's still our home, and we should still like try to clean up our home. And if you're watching or listening and you want to like lead a cleanup, please do. You can tell me about it. I'll be happy to promote it, and then maybe I'll even join it, or we'll partner up, whatever. All options are on the table if it means we can help out our island together. What else was I going to say about that? So yeah. Oh yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's really cool seeing these kids, man. I saw that video on your social media, the Guam Guy, and man, to have that sort of inspiration at such a young age, like I feel like maybe
You're so young yourself too,
yeah,
though.
like I'm seeing these guys, and I'm like, yes, keep going, girls, you got this. Like you came up with that idea at that age. Wait till you're like 2 or 3 years older, and like you get a car, and you start like learning a whole bunch of other things about the world. You're gonna be like super insurmountable for sustainability out here, and just good job. Really appreciate your work, and looking forward to all the great things that you do in the future.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, one of my inspirations is inspired by you two. So that's really cool. So I guess just to set us back a little bit, maybe a little controversial here. So again, we have littering, we have dumping, and we have let's say marine debris. But let's take those first two, littering and dumping. And a lot of the videos I post, there's some really unfortunate comments that I see, and and people just say, oh, that's just the Chukis. The Chukis are the ones doing all of that. And I don't agree with that just from the start. But let's say there was an actual report that was done, and it's completely unbiased, and let's say half of the littering was done by Chukis. I might be willing to accept that, okay? And I'll put that on the table. And if another report or study came out completely unbiased and it said that Chamorros were responsible for 90% of the dumping, I'd be willing to accept that too. And the facts are facts, and we actually don't even have the facts, I would say. I don't think there's been a report on this. Everybody's shaking their heads. But regardless of who's doing it, we still need to prevent it and just stop it. So I had this kind of idea. I talked to Senator Clint Rigel about this just to get his feedback, and I apologize because he seems to become the default person to talk to anytime the word Chukis is mentioned in a negative way. And we had a really great conversation. It was in 3 installments because we were both got distracted. And he said that, some of it is in some places that are less developed, when they throw away their trash, they just throw it anywhere because everything and our ancestors included, was biodegradable. So when you throw something away, you're returning it, and it becomes part of the the natural cycle of things. And some places haven't quite caught up to that yet. Some people who maybe move here haven't quite caught up to that yet, and I can accept that. Okay. The willful dumping, though, is a whole other different story. But in any case, no matter what, like, it's easy to kind of like complain about the problem, but you don't really see so many people trying to solve it. And so I'm like, okay, if you want to just blame one particular group, okay, can you go a step further and try to work with them to overcome it? And even better than that, work with everything to overcome it. So you'll notice in one of the shots earlier we showed at Oka Point, for example, we have that beautiful like concrete platform. It had some graffiti on it. What if we took a different approach? Going back to like school stuff, we talk about STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then every once in a while, someone's like, hey, why don't we make that STEAM to include the A? Science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And the way it's usually pitched is to try to get scientists or STEM people to be inclusive of artists. And I want to try to flip the script on that. What if we have artists who try to insert themselves into the scene? So I think it'd be a beautiful thing if we're doing a cleanup and we just have some people come out with chalk, right? And they'll do like multilingual, multicultural chalk art, let's say on the platform, and maybe just write in whatever languages, English, Chamorro, Chukis, in whatever culturally or whatever in language is most resonant, most powerful, like please respect, our land, or just take your trash with you. Keep it relatively positive. People don't like to be attacked, right? So just be encouraging of good behavior. And so maybe I'll just end it there. So because that's a hard thing to talk about, right? Potential like race, like either outright racism or sly racism in any case.
I don't particularly see it as racism. I mean, I think it's just, and I don't think we should play the blame game. I think for the most part, you see somebody dumping trash, no matter your race, that's your character. That's that person's character. That's not his whole people.
True. Yeah, very true.
When I see people comment like, "Oh, those are all Chukis," it's like, no, man, like that's that one guy. That could be that one guy. And
a person is not his or her people.
Representing all of them. Yeah. And I think once we play the playing game, like you're not going to make anything better. Nobody's going to want to work with you. You automatically choose your side. So I think it's best to, in terms of debris and littering, like to just kind of address it as a community and kind of make it more. For me, make it a lot easier to get rid of your trash. Because I feel like these guys are going out and littering because they can't find a quick and easy way to dispose of their trash, or they can't afford to dispose of their trash.
You're speaking a lot of truth. We do not have public receptacles, trash cans, in many places.
And it sucks to see that these guys have reverted to throwing it into the jungle and stuff. Where I live in Merizo, there was a site right next to us, and I caught this one person throwing trash back there. He had his mail in the trash. Oh. So I found his name. And then I found a phone number. I was like, hey, man, did you throw trash up here? You threw it right behind my house.
Okay.
And I got to, like, talking to the guy. I was like, hey, man, I'm not trying to, like, get on you about this. I just would really prefer if you'd come up here and, take it. Please dispose of it properly.
Before you call EPA.
Yeah, or the law. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. EPA does have a program of if the identity of the person can be determined from going through the trash, they will follow up on that, or they're supposed to be following up on that and levy a fine or whatever. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, there might be something else coming down the chute with dumping, as far as dumping is concerned.
I haven't heard yet.
Yeah, possibly more punitive measures. But did bring up something that there are people who can't afford the $31 or something like that that is needed for trash pickup, or they can't. It could be laziness, or in one instance, it was a person who was hired to remove trash and other solid waste from someone else moving out. And that was dumped, unfortunately, at Maso Reservoir, in the hole there at Maso Reservoir. And so we found it. There was all kinds of ID in there. The original owner of the trash was contacted, and he said he didn't have any other contact for this guy. He didn't even get a receipt from the guy. So he just hired somebody who was, kind of fly by night or something like that. But so there are those, weird things going on as well. People who, scam, keep the money, and then dump the
Exactly.
trash elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a lucrative industry. This is a
Yeah.
really deep rabbit hole talking
Yeah.
about trash.
Yeah.
Because one, we as a society, as a people, create way more trash than we should. We're an import island.
Right,
So we're
yeah.
constantly bringing in things from these corporations. One, the corporations tell us that recycling is our problem, right? Where it really isn't. Like this sort of thing shouldn't be left to the little guy, when the corporations are the ones that are actually providing us with all this plastic, right? Like if we can convince somebody up in the higher ups, way up there to, can we please revert to more biodegradable uses of these products, and furniture, I don't understand. Why would you want to throw away a couch in the jungle? That doesn't make sense to me. But,
I've got two near my house.
yeah, but like plastic bottles and stuff. Yes, recycling should be more like on people's minds, but for the most part, like it's just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Those 2 plastic bottles you pick up, there's a warehouse filled with thousands of those that are right about to go back out onto the market. And once it's back out on the market, there's no guarantee that that's going to make it to the trash can. So that marketplace is pretty much saying that, hey, we don't care how much we're going to put into your hands. That's your problem. You got to figure out how to get rid of all that trash.
Yeah, you can argue that like any which way. I guess it just depends on like fundamentally on your values. So you could say like, no, their job is to produce the product. They produce the product. Their job is done. And I could totally see that argument, but I want to think a little bit bigger than that. Like, yeah, we produce a product, but we also want to produce a product that has like little to no impact, or maybe improve our world that we operate in, that we depend on, right? And so I think it's a real not strong argument, let's say, to say that manufacturers, companies, whoever put out these products have no responsibility. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But in any case, why would you want to support that? Or more better, let's say, why wouldn't you support if they wanted to do a better job?
And in a lot of ways, like what you're saying, this trash, it's branded. Like that trash that you find has a brand on it.
Bud Light.
You can trace that can all the way back to where it came from. And the thing is we don't hold the person's name on that can responsible, which is Bud Light, or I'm not going to throw out any specific commercial industries out there, but yeah, it's not like that can says Farron on it, or it says William. It really goes back to this deep rabbit hole that we can go down about corporations and their issuance of trash to the general public.
I think it goes both ways too. I mean, if people just realize, we're not getting our plastics recycled anymore. China's not accepting it, hasn't been accepting it for at least the last 3 years. And so that plastic bottle that you buy at the store, it has to go into the trash, or else you just can't bring it back anymore. So, behavior-wise, people can actually try to curb their behavior and just not buy those things. I know it kind of might be a weird change. People like King Car or something like that.
Especially when you have a fiesta culture, It's like,
Yeah.
hey, boy, get me that Coke.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
But
if you
Is
can
that
just
cool or
think
is it filled
about,
with Coke, you got a problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
it starts with reducing too.
I'm hopeful. The world is changing. It's always changing, right? And it's changing slowly. I was talking to Senator Clint Rigel about this too. About part of the problem is of all the trash we've been picking up, since we do such hard to do things in difficult places to reach. Some of that trash we pick up predates any kind of going green movement or even recycling itself. So maybe we're playing catch up with time with some of our locations, and once we reach a critical mass or lack of it, then it'll be more almost self-sustaining with how clean they're staying. All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon, but I can't wrap it up without shouting out some places. So first of all the cleanup groups and anyone who's ever really made a difference. I can't possibly name them all, but International Coastal Cleanup, for example, that churns out thousands of volunteers in a single day at a time, is just mind-blowing that people come out for that, and it's an absolutely beautiful thing. Wish it all my love and support. I'll be out there, of course. Your own group, Eco Warriors. I didn't know you founded that, or was a founder. So that's really cool. Eco Warriors at
way back in 2011, we officially became a student org, and before that we were GCC Green.
What's the UOG counterpart, or do you know?
Back that Green Army.
Green Army, UOG Green Army. Thank you. Love Guam. I'm not actually sure who they are, but I see their posts and I love them anyway, and I love them loving Guam. Rocky Rosario. I gotta call this guy out by name, and his entire family, who are just mad supporters of getting the island cleaned up, showing up with their vehicles and trailers and all their nieces and nephews and cousins. It's a actually really amazing thing to see that kind of family support for these kind of things.
They also support during the Liberation Day parade. I hear we're going to have another one this year, possibly.
It hasn't come on my radar yet, but I believe it.
Yeah, so every Liberation Day parade for, at least, I don't know, at least since 2013 or 12 even, the Rosario family had been out there, along with Miss Peggy Denny. You gotta remember Peggy.
Oh yeah, of course, Peggy.
Yes, and the Rosario family is just amazing.
And of course, the shoeless living legend herself, Linda Tatro.
Yes. And Marine Mania.
And Marine Mania too. Yeah, so just some absolutely incredible people out there, and groups doing these cleanups. And on that note, we have some more cleanups planned, and you'll notice we don't really do invites because small groups are really best for the kind of stuff that we do, and we're still kind of learning the ropes, so to speak, with some of the stuff we do and how we go about operating. But we've gotten pretty good at a lot of these things, so I'm very, very happy to announce we're going to be doing some partnerships. So I spoke with Kevin Nace at the Guam Overhang Club, and he's agreed to come on and provide the technical support and maybe rent out his equipment for some more cliff and cave cleanups. Merizo Pier project was it July 3rd, you said?
July 3rd. We will be kicking off at 0800 in the morning, and I really hope to see you guys there.
All right. Reed Tapasnia, another guy I got to call out by name. I only met the guy once, but he's really cool. I see his videos, always out there on the trails. So be working with him and the Guam Boonie Stompers and the Hashers on doing some awesome cleanups that you guys will definitely be invited out to. Any final words, parting words for the crowd, you guys?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, Farron, to come down here and kind of.
Okay, let's stop. No thanks. Anything else?
Well, I would like to mention something about dumping, because I think people also may not be aware of where they could take their stuff.
Okay.
So things like white goods, you could take those to Global Recycling, and they will take it for free.
Oh.
They might charge you a bit of a fee for getting rid of the coolant that's in the refrigerators or something like that. But holy cow, I'm seeing washers and stoves and things like that. So people need to be aware of where they can bring their things. Couches, take it to the transfer station.
We should have thought of this, talked about this sooner. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
cool.
So things like that.
All right. Yeah, Magat.
Yeah, just like how you were explaining, it's good to attack it at the source.
Right.
It's great that we're doing all these cleanups, but it's important to have prevention.
Right.
And of course that involves education and having resources for people to send their trash so we don't have all these problems.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for watching, for listening. If you're watching, you'll see we're wearing Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew shirts. They're on sale. So even if you can't come out and physically help, or if you're in the States and you want to help, you can buy a shirt, and 100% of the money will go right back into doing more cleanups. You can buy shirts from 4 locations on the island, which is just crazy. We have Southern Mountain Gear, who I'm repping today. We have Mac Tech over in Akantamal and Tumon. We have GMI Scuba Wholesale in East Agania, right across from Crust / East Agania Shell gas station. And then the local shop in Agania Shopping Center with Tony Siama out there. So big thanks to everybody who's supported, who's bought shirts so far. The first couple $100 we've made bought some helmets. So yeah, you can see how the capacity we're still trying to build in our building. And I'm going to leave you now with a video with the designer of the logo, Christian, or AKA Saving Serena on video, who created this beautiful logo for us. So thank you, my guests, for joining me, and thank you, listeners and watchers, for tuning in.
Actually, before we get to the designer of the logo, I gotta talk about the printer of the shirts and all the stores selling them. These cleanups are a truly grassroots efforts, and I'm amazed at the level of support and responses we've been getting. Said over at Digital Labs was an absolute pleasure to work with as we ironed out the details with the printing of the shirts. They were quick to communicate every step of the way, and I never felt left in the dark. Not only that, but they were kind enough to offer their support to our efforts by providing a reduced price so that your purchase of a shirt is even more effective toward cleaning up Guam. You can find them on Instagram at digitallabs671 or visit their website www.digitallabsguam.com. Seriously, if you're in the need of some shirt printing or whatever else, just go scroll through their feed and see the quality they put out. They do a lot of uniforms, and you know it takes a lot of trust and a quality product for so many sports teams and groups to go to them for their uniforms. The Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew shirts are available at MacTech in Akanta Mall, GMI Scuba Wholesale in East Agania, and the local shop in Agani Shopping Center. Southern Mountain Gear also have been incredible partners who have printed their own run of the shirts. More on them in a future episode of the Guam Guy Show. And I can't just tell you how happy and proud I am of our community coming together to support each other like this. And now, back to the logo designer.
Okay, Hot Day Guam. I'm here with Christian, aka Icky, aka Saving Serena on Instagram, whom I've been a follower of for years. And we're here in Siga, the home of my favorite cookie in the world, no joke. And I just found out that they also have lactose-free, milk-free ice cream, so I'm definitely going to try that after this. Thank you for hosting us in Siga. And how you doing, Vicky?
I'm good. I'm pretty excited to be showing my face and, discussing about the logo design that I created for Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew. Yeah.
So this amazing logo, I'm still so hyped it exists and how beautiful it is. She made this.
So the idea behind the GECC logo?
Or GEC logo, yeah.
The GEC? Okay.
Say GEC, yeah.
The GEC logo was originally a 4-panel. It was supposed to be square, and if you put a little bit of wordplay into it, it's a big X, right, for extreme. So the definition of extreme is reaching a high or highest degree or very great. So
that's a literal definition?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
So it's X. We also put it in the A and the X for extreme, but most importantly is the A, right? Because you want to be above, below, and beyond. So it's above is rock climbing, hiking, going up the mountain. It's extremely amazing.
Ascend.
Yeah, and
ascendant.
Then not only is A above, but it's also for all terrains, right? Because your concept is trying to go below, so it's free diving, scuba diving, and especially your videos was a lot of inspiration for the 4 sports, extreme sports, which was amazing because your main request was the mesh bag.
Yeah. So the original square concept I came up with, I'm can you make this look good and also make everybody hold mesh bags because it's supposed to be about cleaning up, right? It's supposed to have a bag to put trash into. And I didn't know how to draw mesh bags, so I didn't even try. And then she came up with these glorious bags, and you can very clearly and obviously see what they're for. Yeah, so we started with my square concept, and she rotated it just a bit to make it into an X. So we have that X in there to hammer down on the extreme aspect of it, right? And then she did something absolutely beautiful, which I would never have thought of. She made the overall outline Gosawi flower, which is one of my favorite flowers. Chayuti I prefer a little bit better, which has a cool story, but that worked out just beautifully, extra local relevance. And then, so again, we started with a square kind of concept, which was just bad. And then she tried a few versions of it. I'll throw it up on the screen now. And then she made it into this beautiful thing. It did take a couple back and forth just for me to be ultra picky, which she was really cool about. Sorry about that. And then we wound up with this absolutely gorgeous product. Just look at that. This is the Southern Mountain Gear version.
Initially, Saving Serena was just pictures of trash, and then like I was talking about the trash content and like history, and most importantly, like trying to show people what you can change in your lifestyle, so you can have better habits, better eco-friendly habits. And initially, I didn't want to show my face, just to show that it can be anyone that picks trash, and that can have sustainable lifestyle. Yeah, so that was the concept behind Saving Serena.
So yeah, if you want to buy a shirt, they're available in 4 locations, which is just insanity to me. We made a shirt and they're available in stores, like actual stores, which I still am not over. They're going for $30 or $32. Southern Mountain Gear version is $32. And all of the money, again, will just go right back into doing more projects. None of the businesses themselves are actually taking a profit, purely just because they want to support all the good work we're doing. If you want to have some design work from Saving Serena or Icky, Christian here, how can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram, saving.serena. And if you want...
Is there an email?
An email? You can email me at saving.serena.gu@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, like, she was kind of an early inspiration for all of this. So I used to, or I still do, but back years ago I was following her, and I'm just seeing her go to the beach every weekend and, you know, just hanging out with her family, and she's just doing like cleanups with a little hand picker thing, and she would make posts about the kind of stuff she would pick up, and I just thought that was amazing. Like, it's just, you know, it's just a little convenient cleanup. It's not a big show, like I have to make a big show out of everything I do, right? She's just hanging out with her family, just picking up trash while they're hanging out. And I just thought that was amazing, so I'm happy that now I get to follow in footsteps like that.
Yeah, that was the inspiration. Because these are also like hand-drawn, so they're supposed to represent silhouettes, because they can be anyone. They can be me, they can be you, they can be